Welcome. I'm Steve Gurney, and publisher of Positive Aging Sourcebook. And today's topic is digital marketing for senior living providers. Today, I've got with me our expert who will be coming on later in programmatic advertising, and her name is Charity Huff. But let me share my screen here, and let's get started. So this is what we're going to talk about today, folks. We're gonna go through a bunch of elements of digital marketing in our senior living space, and we're going to touch very briefly on all of these, but hopefully we're going to give you some ideas on how you can utilize digital media, paid and unpaid, to help you outreach and communicate with your customers and potential customers and referral sources now and once things open up, begin opening up after the COVID-19 crisis. So these are the bullet points we're going to go over here. So let's jump into it. So we do these networking events. We've booked Tuesday at 12 for the indefinite future, and we're just going to be here to have conversations to help you with ideas and resources to help your marketing in the senior living space. And these first two slides you're going to see at the beginning of each of these sessions, just to kind of remind us of the universe of providers that we're in and the base of the pyramid of why we're here. So the first slide that I've got up here just illustrates the buckets that the senior living world reside in. We've got housing options like assisted living, nursing, life plan communities, aging in place options like home care agencies, universal design, transportation services, and a variety of other services that can help people age in place. And then we've got resources like elder law attorneys, aging life care managers, nonprofits, government agencies. Anything that doesn't fall into the aging in place and housing bucket resides in resources. And some of you are in all three buckets in one way, shape, or form. The next slide, which is probably the most important slide when we talk about marketing and outreach, is understanding who our customers are, who our referral sources are, and who we refer to. And next week, we're going to dive in much deeper to this. But if you don't know who your customers are and who your audience is, you can't target them and you can't present relevant messages to them. And if you, as you're going to learn, if you can't present relevant messages to your audience, you're going to be not as successful in your marketing, sales, and outreach. Okay. This next slide shows you the new marketing funnel. And this has evolved with the growth of digital, but let me walk you through how this works. And what you want to do is keep this funnel in the back of your mind whenever you're doing sort of sales, marketing, or outreach. So for example, I'm going to use this webinar that we're on. We've got over 200 senior serving providers on this webinar, and I know you guys are introducing each other in chat. So let's say that you do your analysis, you understand who your customers are, who your referral sources on, and you're on this call, and you look in, and you've identified that you get leads from assisted living providers, that professionals that work in assisted living that you can develop very positive win-win relationships with. And you notice in chat that there's somebody who works for an assisted living that you don't know. That is what we refer to as lead generation. You came to this meeting and you had the opportunity to connect with somebody who you are fairly confident, because they match your profile, you have something that you can offer to them. So that's referred to as lead generation. So, and we talk about, so now that you've got that relationship, you're working on engaging with that person, educating them on the problems that you can solve for them or their clients, and helping them research so that they can understand the alternatives and why you're presenting a great option. So now, then as we move down the funnel, the next sort of group is what we call lead nurture. So you've got a lead, you're starting to develop that relationship. Lead nurture is where you're diving deeper. You're getting closer to either getting a referral, or if we're talking about consumers, that consumer trusting you enough to make a purchase, move in your community, hire your agency, use your service. And that's sort of the nurture phase. And again, we have research, evaluation, justification, giving these individuals the tools and confidence to trust you as a resource. And then we move into the bottom of the funnel is when we become customers, when somebody has sort of gone through that pipeline and they're either giving you and your organization a referral, or they are buying your services and they're adopting that service. And if it's something that they have to continue with, they're retaining you on a month-by-month basis. And there may possibly be ways that you can expand that customer relationship by offering them additional things. And this works very well with referral sources as well. And then lastly, what we are trying to create with all of our customers are raving fans and influencers, that now those individuals that are referring and using our services, they love us so much, they're out there telling the world. And this is how the marketing funnel works. The things we're going to be, this is what the marketing funnel looks like. And when we move into the various digital products that you can buy, you're going to be thinking about, where does that fit in the funnel? What is this, the call to action that's helping me with these various marketing vehicles? Okay, so this slide is, I just became aware of this term called disaster sizing. So instead of advertising, we say disaster sizing here, and after this COVID-19 crisis. And the first bullet point that I want to address on this slide is the photo. I stumbled into this photo and I actually used it on my social media as a caption contest, and it was very well received and got people thinking and laughing and connecting. But one of the things that this photo illustrates is that everything is so serious now with COVID-19, and oftentimes our marketing and our communication can be downright depressing and negative. And coming up with creative ways to insert humor into your messaging is very important, but it's also one of those areas where you have to be very careful. And I definitely thought about, how I was going to execute this caption contest with this photo, and was prepared that if I did see a negative response, that I might have to apologize and take it down. But this is just some food for thought. I love sort of promoting an outside of the box creative way of thinking. So I've got a few bullet points I wanted to just bring up to you guys. The first is, when will be the right time for us to sell in our organization? For some of us, the brakes have been put on. We cannot sell because our product, service, community, we can't accept new clients in this COVID-19 environment. And we are sort of pressing the pause button, and we're looking into the future at when will I be able to begin marketing and accepting, well, I shouldn't say marketing. We can continue marketing through this pause period. Like, this is a great time to develop referral relationships that can benefit us later, but actively going out there and marketing and potentially spending money on our marketing, this is a great time to prepare and think about that. One thing, the next bullet point says, we are all in this together. I want to bring this up because this is sort of the marketing tagline for many advertisers and many marketers that are out there. And it's an excellent tagline. But if you watch the evening news these days, what you'll see maybe 2 or 3 consecutive advertisements all basically saying the same thing. We're all in this together. And one of the things that you realize when you see that is that if we're all throwing out the same exact message, it doesn't distinguish us in the marketplace as much. And so this is more food for thought, is we can think of creative ways to communicate that we are all in this together that distinguishes you from the other people that are in the marketplace. Just more of a challenge and food for thought. One way that I think some of us can really expand our marketing and it can benefit us greatly is in hiring and human resources. There are a lot of senior living providers that, due to the COVID-19 crisis, are looking for new employees and looking for new caregivers and people to serve their clients. And we've also got, a lot of unemployment out there. So I would sort of challenge you to think about the Domino's model. If you've seen some of the recent Domino's advertising, they are basically saying, look, our country is in a crisis. We know people are out of work, and Domino's is hiring. We are a great place to work if you are, hardworking and you're looking for a good job. And, oh, by the way, because we're hiring, you can order pizza from us. And so what you see with the Domino's is that they are reaching consumers through their employment ad, and through their employment ad, they're doing a great thing for the community by hiring people that may be out of work. So think about that for some of you who are in that situation. I think it's an excellent way to kind of piggyback your marketing and recruitment together and touch people that may be customers down the road. Specifically, what are you doing now and how are you relevant? This is something that we all need to sleep on and we need to define, and it's going to change as the COVID-19 crisis changes, but this is going to be very important, as we're going to see in some of the next slides. The next bullet point I think is very important. It deals with transparency. And a great example of that is that we've all seen the news stories of senior care providers and nursing homes that got hit with a left hook by this COVID-19 crisis. And they were not getting in front of it. I don't want to say that providers were being deceptive, but they weren't sort of sharing the fact that the virus was in their community or that they lost, X amount of lives or what have you, that they were sort of, hey, maybe if we don't say anything, it'll go away. And those are the stories that hit the headlines. They got penalized for it from a reputation perspective. Whereas there are providers out there, and we've all seen them, that got hit with the same left hook with COVID-19, but instead of, putting it in the background and hoping that it just goes away, they got out in front of it and said, hey, look, we have been hit. We've got X amount of residents. We are doing X, Y, and Z to turn this around. And consequently, by getting out in front of it, they gained community and family support. And the ones that I've seen do this very well have this outpouring of community initiatives, donations, volunteerism, you name it, to support them because they are being transparent. Pricing and flexibility. This COVID-19 time is a great opportunity to play around with your pricing and maybe even do some pro bono work to get through this period to where the market resets and we begin working in what will be our future economy. Okay, let's see. All right, I always like to use a slide like this because this is, in essence, when I'm thinking about marketing in the senior living world, oftentimes a slick sales presentation is not appealing to our customers or our referral sources. And so I always sort of embrace this approach that in our marketing, we need to be subtle, meaning on the surface, we are nice and calm and we are out there as a resource for you, your family, and your referrals. But below MAD, we are being very strategic. Below the water, we're kicking like mad to keep ourselves moving forward. This is the strategy, and this is putting our plan together, our marketing plan together to move our organization forward and serve the clients and referral sources that we have. Okay, this is my first bullet point slide, and this is we're going to talk about your digital properties. Okay, now what you have one main digital property, and that is your website URL. That's the address that people type in and Google recognizes as being directed to your website. Okay, now there are a few components of this website. Now, going back 20, 30 years ago, anybody who was in business was reliant on traditional media, print, broadcast, direct mail, what have you, to get a message out. Because we can now own our own websites, we become publishers. This is your media. You, in essence, have a printing press here with your website that you can communicate to the world. Everything you need to communicate to them. And what we're going to talk about is what is going to be on that website, how you get that website, how that website gets out there in the community, and some management ideas on ways that this can work to the maximum advantage for you and your organization. So the first thing that I want to bring up to you is on this orange circle here. So the years ago, back, in let's say the late 1990s, you could potentially game the search engine system. So you could do some things, you could throw some keywords into your website, and within days, weeks, or months, all of a sudden your website is at the top of the list because you threw all these things into the background. You did a bunch of blog posts that used the word assisted living 100 times in it, and the search engines, picked up, and you're at the top of the list. And so now to rank well on Google, there are some new rules, because and 90% of the search is done on Google, so that's why we're focusing on it. And so there's two acronyms that I want you to know about: EAT and YMYL. So let me walk you through these, and I actually wrote some things down so that I wouldn't mess this up. And so EAT, which stands for expertise, authority, and trustworthy. So to rank well on Google, you need to nurture your brand by building its expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. And this cannot happen overnight anymore. This is a long-term project. And let me explain how you build your brand on these three areas, how that's defined by Google. So expertise. Find out what your audience is searching for, then match and exceed their needs. This begins with your client profile and matching your keyword research. So remember I said the client profile is super important? It really is. you need to understand who your audience is that goes to your website, and then you need to do the internal research and figure out what they want, what they're using on your website, what they want on your website. If it's not there, you can create it and provide it, and that will help build your level of expertise. And Google has all the algorithms happening in the background to know when this is working. The second is authority. And authority is when others are citing you as a source of information, or when your name or brand becomes synonymous with relevant topics, then you're an authority. So one of the ways that we can help each other to become an authority is there's over 200 people on this webinar today. And if we begin quoting each other and exchanging links and working together to provide cross links and promotion to each other, that helps build our authority in the eyes of Google. And lastly, trustworthiness. And this is reining in any negative sentiment. So if you've got negative reviews, especially on Google, Facebook, things like that, responding to them. Everybody gets negative reviews, but responding to them in a authentic and logical way is important. Having clear points of contact. Potentially, this doesn't apply to everyone, but having a physical location, even if it's your home address, is helpful in terms of trustworthiness, as opposed to, I click on contact and there's no physical address. In our field, you could be penalized from that in terms of trustworthiness. Transparent and having a secure domain. The other acronym is YMYL. That's your money and your life. And because we're in the senior living world, this impacts us, and Google looks at our category with much more scrutiny than other categories that don't intersect with your money and your life. And let me just kind of read what I wrote here. With certain types of searches, there's a huge potential to negatively impact users' happiness, health, or wealth. In other words, were these pages of low quality, they would have the potential to impact a user's well-being. And we all know fraud is being committed against seniors. So this YMYL is very important. And it's just important that we recognize that online we have high expectations in our category, and from a Google perspective, we're under a little more scrutiny than other types of businesses. Performance, so user experience, that's the experience that your users are going to have. Like, so when somebody lands on your website, it's important to understand what you want them to do, okay? That's the user experience. Performance, that's in the background, and that is how fast the website is, how do the photos load up, is Google blacklisting me because of the way that my website is set up? Google My Business and directories are something that we'll talk about a little bit, and search engine optimization. So what search engine optimization is, it's implementing things that build your expertise, your authority, and your trustworthiness. And that will, in turn, it should increase your chances of rising up on the Google search results. Okay. I threw this slide in here at the last minute because I'm hitting you with a lot of different things. And what I want you to think about when it comes to your digital property, remember, that's your website, is I want you to think of this as you're building a house, okay? And when we're all building a house, we want our house to be done quickly, we want it to be low cost, and we want it to be high quality, okay? I mean, it's a fair assessment. The project, we want all three of these priorities that I have on the screen to build our house. However, There's lots of things that go into building a house and building your website. In a house, you've got light bulbs, you've got your patio, you've got patio furniture, you've got your kitchen and your countertops. And so what I want you to think about is we want to create the best website for you at the lowest price, and we want to do it as quickly as possible. But how we're going to save money is on some of the elements that are inside of that house or inside of that website. So if I'm building a house, I may go with a lower cost and a lower quality type of tile in my bathroom. And then in other areas, I might go with a very high quality customized product that is going to take longer for somebody to build. Okay. Now, how this comes into play, again, using the house analogy, this next slide is just a glimpse at all the tools that are out there to help you build your house. Okay. So there are tools that can review your content and give you recommendations on how that can be better or more noticed by Google. There are tools on performance and giving you the in the background, how fast does your page load up? How many people are jumping off this page? Why this is a bad link on another page? You need to fix that. There are tools that can help you with SEO, and again, there's internal and external SEO. So internal are the things that you do in the background of your site. External, those are the things that you're out there doing. So if you've got a blog, making sure that that blog is relevant to your readers, that's the most important thing. Gone are the days where you have to load up your blog postings with certain keywords. Make sure that it's relevant to the readers that are going to your page, and that's your best bet. But one of the best SEO tools is Google My Business. If you have a business or organization, make sure that your Google My Business page is up to date and it has all of your information in there. Because if somebody is searching for you specifically, that is going to enable you to pop up on their Google searches probably better than anything else that's out there. And there's tools for keyword marketing. The Google Search Console is very good to help you with that. One tool that I want to bring up is on user experience, and that's a website, User Testing. And this is a pretty cool website because what most of us end up doing is you create a website, you put some stuff up there, you talk to your coworkers, your friends and family. Hey, how do you like my website? Hey, do you mind pretending like you're a customer and do these 3 tasks and tell me what you think? Because those people are in our inner circle, they may or may not be honest or objective, I should say. User Testing is a really cool website where you can go on and you can post up your website and you can give users that you know or don't know that just fit your customer profile a few tasks to perform on your website. And they will go and do those, and you can watch the video of how they're doing it, and they'll be sharing with you, like if you ask them to, what would you do next when you land on this website? And they said, well, I think I'd like to pick up the phone and give them a call, but I can't find the phone number. You'll get insights like that with user testing. Okay, next slide, social media. All right, social media is something that can be pretty overwhelming to most of us. And I want to share a story that can sort of illustrate one of the challenging things about marketing in our field, but it can also, it's very relevant to social media, where having a bunch of likes and having a bunch of followers and having an engaged user audience is deemed to be very important. So back when I started publishing Sourcebook, I read an industry magazine, publishing industry magazine, that told a story about a new magazine that was being launched for divorced dads. And the writer said, you know, every 5 years or so, somebody gets the great idea to launch a magazine for divorced dads because all the demographics and everything is there that this would make a great magazine, or in modern day, a great website. Because divorced dads, they're a big audience. They represent a large user group. They spend money, and they've got some distinct topics that they are interested in given their situation. And the author said, but the thing that these people launching these magazines don't realize is divorced dads don't want to be divorced dads. This is a temporary situation. So they're not going to buy a 5-year subscription to a divorced dads magazine. They want solutions to help them now, and they want to move on with their life. And they, in general, don't want to have that badge that they're a divorced dad. I draw the comparison to many of the senior living purchases that that our customers are dealing with. So, you know, a typical person who is out there searching for assisted living or nursing care may or may not be compelled to like our social media pages. Okay, more than likely they will like a few that they're looking into, and then mom moves into one, and now they're a very engaged user because their mom is in your community or using your home care agency, and they want to know everything about that's going on. And if you can post pictures of mom enjoying herself and they can share those pictures with their friends, that's all the better. So but after mom passes away, or if she moves from assisted living back into the basement, they're not necessarily going to be a long-term subscriber. They might, you know, because they're committed. So it's an important thing to remember is that for a lot of our services, for a lot of our social media pages, people might just want to visit. They don't necessarily want to be reminded of the situation that they're faced with for a variety of reasons. However, the person that is going to subscribe and is going to stay connected to your social media is me, okay? And it's the 200 people that are on this call today. Is that it's my job to know what's going on at all of these senior living communities and people that I'm referring to and you're referring to and what have you. And so your ongoing subscribers are more of the professional community. And the people that are going to go in and out are your prospects and your families and what have you. And I'm reminding you of this is that because unlike a favorite restaurant or an amusement park or something else, or a product or service that you use on social media, and you look at them and they've got, you know, 1,000 people in their community and they put a posting up and 100 people like it, our numbers are going to be a little bit lower in our field. That's okay. All right. Just, you know, just recognize that. So now, but the best thing that we can use social media for is authentically connecting with the families that we're serving. And that can create influencers and expand into the circles of those families and loved ones and result in referrals. Organic and paid, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but what organic is, that means I'm going to do a Facebook post about, you know, we just bought pizzas for the people at the hospital down, the workers at the hospital down the street. They're working so hard with COVID-19. We ordered a bunch of pizzas, and this is a picture of us delivering it. And let's say that gets a real positive reaction in your circle of Facebook friends. So now what you might think about is, hey, since that got a good reaction, why don't I pay to boost that post a little bit to people that aren't my friends, but are in close proximity to that hospital. And the cool thing is on Facebook and other social media, it's self-service. All you got to do is just punch in your credit card number. You can put in your budget. You can put in how many days you'd like this to go and see if it generates a result that's in alignment with your customer base and your marketing funnel. Okay, going back to the earlier slides. Now, I put website alternative on this slide because there are a lot of businesses out there now that don't have websites. Okay, they have a URL, so it might be shadyacreshomecare.com, but instead of pointing to a website that they would have to maintain, they point to their Facebook page. And again, everybody's goals and resources are a little bit different, but for some of the companies that have taken this approach, they realized that they had all their contact info on their Facebook page. They realized that a lot of their families are Facebook members of Facebook. And so it's sort of like, hey, I don't need to maintain a website. I'm just sending them to the Facebook page. And this is, it streamlines my digital marketing a little bit because I'm not maintaining a website and a Facebook page. I'm just doing one thing. A lot of times smaller companies do that, but it's depending on your needs, it could be a great solution. Okay, so I'm primarily talking about Facebook because that in general to our target demographic is probably the most effective social media platform. But let's say that your organization is really embracing posting on a regular basis with a lot of focus and utilizing Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, social media is out there. Using there are a variety of social media management tools that can keep you on a schedule and can monitor the internet on when people are posting and talking about you online and help you see if you're hitting your goals for likes and engagement and things of that nature. The two that I have on the screen, Hootsuite and Sprout Social, are probably the oldest, but I will tell you that there are hundreds of these sites that can help you streamline your social media messaging. Email. Email is a fantastic digital marketing platform. And last week on our marketing discussion, a question arose: what are ideal open rates? It was somebody who was doing some email marketing and they wanted to know what their open rates are. And so what I've got here, these are the healthcare industry averages, but they're pretty close to the global averages. And I'm just going to sort of walk through these metrics just so you kind of understand them. So if you sent out an email to 100 people, the average open rate in our field is 19%. So 100 people, 19 people will open that email. The click-through rate is 2%. That's how many people click on a link in that email. So that's obviously, you may not have something for them to click on in that email, okay, which you're going to register a 0 click-through rate. But if you have something, a call to action that requires a click, that's a good measurement tool. And then the click to open rate, that sort of combines those two stats together. So that's the average is 13%, meaning of those 19% that opened your email, 13% clicked through. So that 13% is your real engaged, that's a more engaged customer there. Your unsubscribe rate in the healthcare field is 0.2, that's under 1%. So when you send out an email to 100 people, in general, less than 1 should be unsubscribing. 1,000 people, that would be, 2. 2 people would be unsubscribing. And then your bounce rate, that's 1%. That is bad emails that you might have in your system. And one thing that is really depressing to me to see over the last month or two is the people that are bouncing on my emails because of layoffs and unemployment and things of that nature. So get used to a higher bounce rate. no matter what, especially if you're using people's work email in COVID-19. Okay, now I'm kind of jumping ahead here. The first thing that I want to let you guys know is if you are not using an email platform, you should start using one. So if your email communication is just, you got Outlook and you got a bunch of emails and you blast them out there, sign up for an email platform. These are the leading ones. Constant Contact and MailChimp probably have the bulk of the customer. And I believe most of them under 1,000 names, it's free. So you're not, when you've got a small list, you're not paying anything. But it brings all of your emails together and it enables you to utilize some of these metrics that I'm talking about. The other thing, if you haven't picked an email platform, the way that I want you to think, the driver should be, what are you using for a CRM? And if you're not familiar what a CRM is, that's a customer relationship manager. Now, your CRM can be an Excel spreadsheet with all of your clients' and prospects' names on it. That's okay. Don't feel the urge because your husband or wife comes home and talks about Salesforce and how their company uses it and it's awesome and I can do all these different things. Especially if you have a small list, I recommend simplifying your CRM. And in fact, if you use like a Constant Contact or a MailChimp, you may actually be able to use those platforms as a CRM. And a CRM, again, is a broad term. It just organizes your customers and your contacts and your follow-up, and it's very important. One of the benefits of using one of these email platforms is that you can do A/B subject line testing. Now, what this is let's pretend that you're doing webinars, because we're all doing webinars these days, and you're doing CU webinars. So next week you're doing a webinar, you got Dr. Smith, and what you could do is you're going to send an email out to 1,000 people, and you're going to have a subject line A that says, you're invited to hear Dr. Smith speak. And subject line B might say, free CEUs. Hear Dr. Smith speak. Using these platforms, you can see which subject line creates the most opens. It randomly sort of goes through your things, and it'll do like 20%, and it'll figure out, okay, you get more opens with the free CEU on it. So then it'll send the rest of the emails to that free CEU open rate. So now, next week, you do another webinar, and you're like, this free CEU thing works on my subject line. So now let me figure out, does it work better if I say free CEUs, hear Dr. Smith speak, or Dr. Smith speak, free CEUs? And what you can do, what these systems can allow you to do is better refine your digital marketplace. Okay, I think this is my last slide before I turn things over to Charity. And I wanted to touch on webinars, videos, and virtual tours. Okay, because last week we had a question. Hey, Steve, you're doing a lot of webinars. Why are you choosing the Zoom? Why do you like Zoom better than all the other platforms out there? The reason I like Zoom is because it's sort of like Kleenex now. It's like we're Zooming meetings, and it's not that I don't like GoToWebinar or the hundreds of other platforms that are out there, but we've all become educated on how to navigate through a Zoom meeting. So why not use that platform? It's sort of like, once they had push button phones out there, you didn't really, it makes it a lot easier. So that's one of the little tips that I would bring up. The other tip that I would bring up is something that I didn't do today, is that when you're doing a webinar, especially for an important group of customers, always have somebody behind the scenes. You heard how I had Charity read the questions, sort of enlisted her. Have somebody back there, so while your speaker is talking, you've got somebody sort of the puppet master kind of seeing the conversation, seeing what's going on there. The other thing that I've noticed is that unlike live events where we promote them weeks in advance, you can promote a webinar while we're in this quarantine. You can promote it you can promote it the day before, and you can get turnout. I generally double the turnout of my events by sending out a reminder the morning of the event. It blows my mind, but those are some tips for you on webinars. I recommend webinars. Everybody's at home right now. Let's jump on this bandwagon if you've got interesting things to talk about, or team up with your partners. Second, videos. Videos and tours. I'm going to bring these together because last week somebody asked, it's like, I can't tour people in my property, but should I invest in a virtual tours or things like that? The answer to that question is yes. You should figure out a way that you can create virtual tours or a video tour that you can share with people that are interested in your community, even if you can't move in. If you want a good low-cost resource for virtual tours like the one that I've got on the screen, what I recommend is reach out to your realtor network. Most of us are networked with realtors, senior real estate specialists. They're doing virtual tours for all their listings. Use their providers to do virtual tours of your community or your office or what have you. You will find that those virtual tours that the realtors are using will probably be more cost effective than when you go to the sort of the corporate provider that is providing commercial virtual tours for apartment buildings and offices and things of that nature. Videos, I put videos into two buckets, okay? Highly polished produced videos and more authentic videos that you can create with your iPhone and post it up there. There's nothing wrong with either one of those. Just make sure that the content is relevant to your audience. That's the most important thing. The other thing is that try to make your videos 2 or 3 minutes or less. And if you find that they go longer, cut them into a series. This is series 1, series 2, series 12, okay? All right. Woo, man, I'm going through this. Okay, my last thing, this is, Charity, you're on deck for programmatic, but I just want to explain the concept of paid search and what that means. And we've already talked about organic search, but so paid search is search that you pay for. So you see on the screen, the paid search is at the top of the page. Those companies paid for it. They selected a variety of keywords and things that when somebody types it into the search engine, and up the screenshot that I've got is veterinarians in Vancouver, British Columbia. That is that their ad will be served up, okay? That's paid. Organic are the people that just show up naturally. And again, going back to EAT and YMYL, that's what gets you up there in that area. And you cannot do it overnight anymore, guys. 25 years, when I started doing this in the late 90s, you could, whoa, man, I put a blog post up and it's there now, you know? It's not going to happen. You're building a house and it's going to take you months and years to build it. And you might get up there on 1 or 2 categories. But if you want to guarantee, you're going to pay. But the area that you can really do well, and this is why I brought up Google My Business, is the local organic search. For various searches that we do, you will notice, like if you're searching restaurants in your neighborhood, what you'll notice is you'll see the paid, you'll see the organic, and then you'll see this little directory there. That is local search. The Google My Business can help you in that area. So that's why you want to make sure that your Google My Business is up to date. Okay, man, I got to take a break. Thank God you're here, Charity.
Nice work, Steve.
Okay, but let me introduce Charity again. You're going to learn about this really cool thing called programmatic, okay? I know a little bit about it, but Charity this is her area of expertise, okay? And, you know, I even asked Charity, I said, hey, Charity, do you want to help me with some of these other things on my presentation? And, you know, her response was, look, Steve, I'm programmatic, you know, and that's what you want. When you're focused on a specific element, you want to get an expert, and I'll help you find other experts that you need, okay? But I want you guys to know what programmatic is, and Charity, take it away.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's so nice to spend some time with all of you. Before we get into programmatic, there were a couple of questions from some of your previous slides that I think would be helpful for folks to get their answers to, Steve.
Okay, yeah, let me...
And I've got them queued up for you. So one specifically is, what is the cost per click on Google? And I know it varies widely depending on the keyword. So is there anything you want to add in there?
Yeah, so this intersects with programmatic, because what is the new advertising world out there is it's a bidding system, okay?
Right.
So if you want to buy assisted living on Google with nothing else, you're gonna spend a fortune. So that what would and understand what that would do is that would mean that if somebody in California typed in assisted living, your little Rockville Shady Acres is going to pop up at the top of the list. You're going to pay a fortune for that. Okay. So now if you say what if somebody types in assisted living in Rockville, Maryland? Okay. Now that price is, well, what I should say is it's this bidding system that price is getting, the cost per click may not necessarily change, but your universe is tighter. So what you're paying for that campaign is going to be more in line than if you got the bill for the assisted living and you had no geographic keywords, you'd be spending a fortune. So hopefully that answers it. Again, this is very specific, and this is why you sort of have to do some analysis, but this is what you're bringing up. What we're bringing up here, this is how you save money. Every one of my clients that have done digital campaigns over the last 20 years, they've got stories of where, holy cow, I spent a fortune on Google, and then we tightened it up and it became more manageable to my budget.
Good.
And
the other question, Steve, that came up is around email and what's kind of the best practices for the subject line so that you stand out among all of the emails that we're all receiving these days.
This is another great reason to jump on board with the MailChimp, Constant Contact, what have you, is because these email providers, they have internally, as part of being part of their package, they have suggestions on subject lines and ways that you can make your email open rate better. They're constantly doing little webinars to help you improve that. But I think really the most important thing is this A/B testing. I feel it gives you the opportunity to kind of play around with things and looking at your own open rate and seeing what's going on there. So I recommend getting on one of these platforms and digging deep. And look, if you're paying for the email subscription, utilize everything that they've got. If they've got webinars, if they've got a Q&A, if they've got all that stuff, jump in there. Especially MailChimp and Constant Contact, millions of emails are going out daily. They've got data on who opens and why they open, and you can begin to throw those keywords in.
Good. Right, and then the last question, how do folks get a copy of your slides and of the recording? That one's come up several times.
I'm going to send that out to everyone. And guys, I pressed the record button a little bit late. So what I'm going to do is when we get off this call, I'm going to re-record that first part of the program. I might babble a lot less too, and then I'll send you both of those. I'm also sending you a complete copy of the chat. So I haven't looked at the chat because I've been babbling, but I know there's going to be a lot of great resources in chat and connections, so I'll send you that as well. Okay, great.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to talk programmatic for the remaining time that we have together. And I always like to start with what the heck does that mean? Because in digital advertising, we use so many words to mean the exact same thing. But programmatic is actually the way in which we buy digital display inventory. And the intention is we're going to buy impressions and inventory on premium sites, news sites, entertainment sites, places that people are spending their day, their stocks, their email, all of those places that they're spending their day, with the intention of putting your message in front of the right person at the right time as they're in the middle of making these very important decisions. So we're going to talk about what all of those details mean. There's a ton of different marketing tactics associated with programmatic advertising. And some of the terms that you probably have heard are digital audience extension, or display advertising, or geofencing. That's how I typically hear my type of work described. But what we're able to do is, because so many people use a combination of their desktop, their tablet, and their mobile device just interchangeably now to do whatever it is they're doing during the course of the day, we're able to target them based off of a geography, a very specific place in the world. So we call that geofencing. We're able to do things so that, to Steve's point around Google search, we only want to target people that are in your specific service area. We don't want to target people in California. We want to target people specific to you. We can actually pick up the types of keywords that people are searching on and help you remarket to them. And lastly, and we're going to talk about these in more detail, we can actually help you remarket to people that have visited your website. If you're going to take the time to invest in your website, then we want to be able to bring people back to your website, because most people don't make their decision the first time they visit your website. Steve, is there anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I just, because I'm a simpleton with these things, is that when I didn't get this whole programmatic, it took me a few conversations when it was introduced to me a few years ago, and it was hard for me to understand. And the way that when I tell people about it, what I say to them is sort of like, and CNN is not a relevant example, but imagine a website like CNN. It's awesome. Okay, everybody goes there, to read about the president and all the crazy things. And it's sort of like, and I'm running a little assisted living in Baltimore, Maryland. It's like, man, it would be great if I could get on that CNN website. So I pick up the phone, or I start emailing CNN the ad, sales team, and it's like, hey, I'd love to get a little ad on your website. How much is that going to cost? And number one, they would never even respond to me, because it's like that's just for Apple, Samsung, and all those people. But programmatic enables all of us to get on these high traffic websites. Now, CNN is probably a long shot, no matter where you are, but there are other websites that are high traffic, where millions of older adults are landing, and a percentage of them live in your little geofence. And so hopefully that helps you understand this. It's true. It's very cool, because here's what's happening. What's happening is, let's use CNN for example. Their ad sales team is going out there and selling a bunch of ads, okay? And anywhere they have a blank space, they bring it into the highest bidder. And programmatic is that highest bidder, all right? So they're just editorializing there.
No, that's great context. Yeah, we want to reach people where they're spending the course of their day. And it tends to be the news sites, the weather apps. Back when we were commuting to work, it was the traffic apps. It's your Yahoo email, and it may be some of the apps that you spend your leisure time, whether you're reading an online magazine or you're playing Words with Friends. All of those places, we want to make sure that you are in front of your audience using all of these different websites and apps.
Great.
And one of the ways in which we can identify who might be in your target market is through their search history. So when somebody goes to Google and types in a keyword like you're seeing here, and they're in Bethesda, Maryland, that gives us a good sense that they may be in the market for an assisted living care facility. And so then we can make sure that we're putting your brand in front of that very specific individual, that device, in order to keep you top of mind while they're making their research decisions. And site retargeting is so awesome, and we're going to do this in two different ways. One is through Positive Aging Sourcebook and the exposure that you have there, and then second is through your own website. So we put a little piece of code on your website that recognizes that somebody visited your website, and then that allows me to go find that same person wherever they go on the web. So when they do read CNN, when they do check their stocks, they will continue to see your brand across the web. And to Steve's point, a lot of national advertisers use this. I always joke that Target ruins my Christmas shopping every year, because as soon as I go to Target and start looking for whatever I'm going to buy the kids for Christmas, then those ads will start to refollow me. And if they see it on the tablet, which is the family tablet, then my kids have a good shot of knowing what they're getting for Christmas. Those are the types of ads that we're talking about.
Yeah, but this is, we can utilize this technology. It's not cost prohibitive. It's actually affordable. And again, but it's all sort of creating the campaign that's relevant. Who is your audience? Where are they? And then figuring out how you can match that up.
And then geofencing is part of this technology that's so amazing. So our mobile devices know where we are in the world at any given time. And so because of that, we can be very selective around who it is that we're marketing to. So you'll see the 4 different options there. One might be a target radius around your facility or around a specific community or zip code. We can also target places of interest or places where you would naturally have your referrals and be sourcing clients. We can target people at a neighborhood or a city level. We can even target at the state level. And we can also target at the individual address level, at a household level. So it may be that we're targeting people that have multiple generations in a home, or it may be that you have a direct mail list that you have used in the past, that we can target at that level as well. And here's just an example of what these ads look like. And you see them all the time. I think CNN's a good example because they run all of these different ad units. So we're bidding on inventory that's available on these premium websites. And we will put your ad in one of these locations. And the same thing happens on a mobile phone, so that you have the opportunity to put your brand and your business in front of just the right people at just the right time.
Yeah, and just so you know, if you go to, there are literally, they are creating new ad sizes every single day of the week, okay? There are hundreds of different ad sizes, and but for our audience and for the retargeting and everything like that, if you focus on these 3 right now, you're going to save in production costs, and your message is going to be easier to kind of get out there and get it into the system. So just if you're talking direct to a large website, they're going to start talking about embedded video and all kinds of crazy sizes. Okay.
And then because this is digital advertising, you'll have the ability to see how it's performing and what's performing. So we'll show you the impressions, which is the frequency and reach with which we're putting your brand and your display ad in front of the right audience will show the clicks through to your website, and that calculates into a click-through rate. This example here of a 0.13% click-through rate is really good, and you should expect to have a nice performing campaign. And then if you have a facility or an office that you invite people into, obviously as shelter-in-place rules change, then we can actually track who was served the ad and then who came to your facility or office, and that's that conversion number. And then we break down so that you can start to see where we're sourcing your audience, whether that be through connected TV, so things like Hulu, right, streaming television, the desktop, their mobile phone, or their tablet. And then we give you even more details around where you're sourcing those folks from a geography standpoint. So lots of detailed information.
Great. Okay. Woo. I can't believe we got through it. Okay. Thank you, Charity. And again, we may in a few weeks kind of dive deeper into any aspect that we presented today, but I want to kind of let you guys know how we can work together to help everybody with our marketing, not just digital, print, broadcast, what have you. So the first is, as I'd said earlier, at least for the immediate time being, I'm going to basically be doing these marketing mastermind webinars. They're free of charge. They're going to be every Tuesday at noon. Might move it around depending on if we get another speaker. But the next week, we're going to focus specifically on helping you figure out who your client profile is, your referral source profile is, and if it's going to change after COVID-19. Let's get on that, okay? So that's going to be a good discussion next week. The second thing that we've got for you is the Marketing Masterminds online community. I'll make sure everybody gets a link to it, and actually that's where I'm going to post these videos, okay, so that we can have a discussion around the video. This is a great opportunity for us to collaborate, and the online community will hopefully help. The third element is, for the last 20 years, I worked for the Washington Post, and I would just, meet with you guys and do free consulting just because you're all advertising with me. No longer with the Washington Post, and I'm on my own. And so I'm still there to do that free consulting. But if you've got a project where you want me to dive in deeper, if you want an extra set of eyes or hands on a specific marketing challenge, and it's going to take more than what I can deliver to you in 30 minutes to an hour, you can hire me as a consultant or a coach or whatever you want to call me. I've been doing this for about a half dozen companies here in the last year and not really advertising it, but I want to make you guys know that I'm available to be part of your team to help make you successful. And what I like is thinking outside of the box and creativity and trying to find and connect resources. And then, as I'd mentioned, we brought Charity on the Sourcebook team because we want to offer you guys this programmatic. And the benefit of working with us on programmatic is, remember those 3 ad sizes? Well, let's say you do a programmatic campaign and you create ads on those 3 ad sizes. We can throw those on all of our web properties, in our emails, and make it part of our package because you're doing a programmatic campaign through us. So there's extra value there. And we've also, our programmatic is pretty affordable in context of things. Our minimums are pretty good. So let's see. Okay, so with the remaining time we've got, if you guys can either raise your hand or use Q&A. Okay, hey, this is a good one here. Leslie Cummings is saying, I'm wondering how I got on your list for these webinars. Well, Leslie, if you go back to my marketing funnel, at some point in time, you either ordered Sourcebook or you attended an event that we were hosting, and that's the only way that we generate leads. That is the only way we generate leads. We have this great resource that lists everything in the world on senior living. That's a lead generator. And so, Leslie, my gut level feeling is you ordered Sourcebook and we invited you to this event. Okay. Anonymous attendee, what is the minimum expense for purchasing programmatic? Basically, what we, in general, a campaign, the minimum campaign that's going to work for programmatic is about $1,000 a month. Okay. But you could do that for a couple of months. So, it might be a certain time of year that you jump into the programmatic and try a campaign in that area. And am I correct in that, Charity? Okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was a follow-on question to that around 2 or 3 zip codes. I think that's the right way to start to think of this is what is the appropriate service area or the 2 or 3 zip codes where you really want to concentrate your marketing spend. And the idea with these pieces is to make sure that you're touching people with enough frequency that you stay top of mind at that critical time when they're making these decisions.
Great. And let's see, I don't know if Joy Drake is still, she had her hand raised. I don't know if she's still there, but Joy, if you've got a question or a comment, or was it already answered? Joy? Okay. I'll leave it open there. If you want to jump on, if you've got anything that you'd like to share that related to this topic, if you've done some of the things that we've been talking about today, and you'd like to share the experience that you had, we can stay on for a little bit longer and address some of those comments and questions. And so just either raise your hand or use the Q&A. I'm looking through some of these questions. Well, it's a service provider. Okay. Okay, why did the majority? Okay, Jennifer Brown brings up a creative question. And you know what? Today, we have not really talked about creativity at all, but why do the majority of advertisers use images of older adults which do not represent their client population? I understand the market experts argue that older adults or anyone has much of a younger image of themselves. At this time, should we not embrace more accurate images of older adults and not models? Absolutely. I think they're back in the early days of marketing to seniors. There was a statement that was brought up by AARP. I think they did a study that said that we picture ourselves 15 years younger visually than we actually are. And so as marketers, we've embraced that. And, I think I've been in so many marketing meetings where I've heard leadership of an organization say something like, well, we can't have our residents in this ad. It doesn't look right. Or we've got to remove the wheelchairs and walkers from the photo or else nobody would want to move in here. And I think this is what, when we talk about authenticity, this is the balance of, marketing an image and project proper image and authenticity. And I think it's challenging because if we're trying to generate leads and if in the mind of our prospect, they don't visualize themselves as a person living with other individuals with walkers and wheelchairs, they may never investigate our option if they see that image in a photograph or on a digital marketing. And this is where, having a conversation is real important. Okay. Let's see. Leslie, I will email this recording to everybody. That's a question. Thank you. As a digidult, this usually makes my eyes cross, so kudos for bringing me into the era without too many scars. Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. with everything going on in business being slow, how can these tools be utilized with limited marketing funds? Okay, great question, Latasha. Number one, with the exception of programmatic and paid digital, just about everything we talked to you about today only costs your time and not money. There are lots of things that you can be doing with some extra time to sort of refining your website, creating organic social posts and things of that nature. And during this time of pause, what I recommend is that we try to get our house in order and we try to sort of get prepared for things opening. The best thing that we can be doing is sort of building our referral relationships now during this time. Is if you're not accepting business, you can reach out and help the providers who are accepting business or who are serving, let's say, an assisted living that's down the street. You know, maybe it's creating some promotion in your social media circles and in your email list to help that assisted living provider, even though it's not your business, you're helping that business. And when we get out of the woods, hopefully they're going to remember that. So those are some ideas. But one of the reasons that we're doing this is that we recognize, and we're having this marketing dialogue, is we recognize there's some people that are out there actively marketing right now. We realize there's some people that have put the brakes on it. So for those people, let's start planning on what life is going to be like when we get out of this and things open up more. And let's give you tools to connect with other providers. And then there's other folks that may sort of shift their paid marketing in other directions. Like I gave you the Domino's example. It's sort of like, hey, maybe I utilize some programmatic for my employment ads, okay? That because if you're trying to recruit employees, and if in general where most of your employees live and you know their background, you could do a little experiment with programmatic on employment ads, but you also have the benefit of reaching end consumers in that same jurisdiction with that same marketing message. Okay, all right. I think we I think we probably overwhelmed them a little bit here, Charity. But in general, it looks like the comments are pretty good. I don't see anybody raising their hand. I don't see any open questions. So I'm gonna say let's put a fork in this. And